All right. Hey, we are live. Welcome to the Zeus X Podcast. I'm your host, Zeus, and I'm here with my boy, Mike. Mike, introduce yourself, Mike. And we're gonna be talking to you guys about how to invest real estate step by step. One of the most educational episodes I'm going to do. Let's get into it.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michael. I'm a real estate agent and an investor here.
Wait,
Can you hear me?
Yeah, hold on, Mike. Hold on, wait. All right, give me 1 second. All right. Sorry, guys. We're going live. Technical difficulties. All right. So you guys, as always, quick announcements. Cop the merch. Support the channel. ZeusXPodcastStore.com, which is in the description. Any donations to the show are greatly appreciated and can be sent to via Cash App to $ZeusXunplugged, which is also in the description below. Check out my last 3 episodes if you guys don't have a chance. Not right now, of course, at this episode. So you guys, I have a very important episode to kick off. Motivational Mondays. Every Monday we will be discussing ways to motivate, invest money, and make money. Today's special episode, today we will discuss an endeavor that has made the most millionaires real estate, which has created the most wealth and is one of the most stable ways to invest your money by far today, right? Look at any millionaire or billionaire, one thing they have in common, and I mean in all their income streams, regardless of how their money is originated or how they make their money, their hands is always dipped in real estate. So we're here in New Jersey. We're in a prominent, flourishing real estate market. I have my boy Mike here on the stream. So Mike, can you introduce yourself, tell people who you are, let them know about you, etc.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. My name is Michael. I am a real estate agent out here in New Jersey, also a real estate investor. I own 2 triplex. I invest in Bergen County and selling real estate almost all of New Jersey. I sell up north. I also sell a lot of homes in the Jersey Shore. And I'm actually about to get my New York real estate license, so I'm expanding to that and maybe even Philly down in the future.
Mm-hmm. All you guys wondering, Michael is my real estate agent. I'm going to be discussing the deal that I personally did with him, cash flow numbers. We're going to break down everything, how I got my real estate property during the pandemic, mistakes, etc. So without further ado, Michael, take it away. Tell the people how you got into real estate yourself.
So it started off back in 2015 when I got the real estate bug. Like everyone else, we're all trying to better ourselves. And I ran into the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And that book basically changed my life. Let me just put my phone in case someone calls or something. Because my iPad goes off.
Yeah.
All right. There you go. So I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that basically changed my mindset. And then I got into the real estate space through this podcast called Bigger Pockets back in 2015. So I started learning about real estate investing. And, from age 25 till 29, I didn't pull the trigger because when I was 25, like most 25-year-olds, my finances weren't good. I had a lot of credit card debt. I still have student loans. Just a lot of stuff that I had to work on to get to that first level of investing. So from age 25 to 27, I was working on just saving money, paying off credit cards, paying off my student loans. And then March of 2020 is when I found my property. My first property was in Garfield, New Jersey. That was a 3-family house. And I actually saw it on the market when it was during the whole craziness of the pandemic. And at that time, everyone was so scared to buy because, no one knew what was going on, COVID, this and that. And I saw that it was
What made you invest during the pandemic?
I mean, I was looking before the pandemic, 2018, 2019. I just couldn't find a deal. And I was working with a bunch of real estate agents. So, I mean, none of them owned investment properties. So then I was like, I always wanted to get my real estate license. So I got my license, and then I already knew about the investing space. So through myself, I was able to get my first property. And, it was just like the right time, the right opportunity. Everyone was scared to buy in March 2020. And originally the house was listed at 600K. I managed to purchase it for 530. It was on the market for almost like 70 days. And the reason it was on the market for so long is just that everyone that went under contract before me lost their jobs during the pandemic.
Ooh.
So for those that don't know, my background is I'm actually a registered nurse. So during the pandemic, I still working full time. And I told the lady, I was like, look, you already had a few deals fall out of contract because the buyers kept losing their jobs. With me, I'm being asked to work overtime at the hospital. So you don't have to worry about me losing my job during the pandemic. So she went with my low offer. She took it. And then, it took a while to close on that property because there was 3 sisters. They all inherit the property from their dad that passed away, who was a big real estate investor in Garfield. So after like 4 or 5 months, we finally closed on the property. So we didn't close till like September 2020.
Oh, okay. All right. And that's around the time when I started trying to close with you actually.
Yeah, no, we looked in 2021.
No, I'm saying that the month around the time. Yeah, you're right. You did. September 2021. So guys, I know you're all wondering my property, the first to go in my portfolio. We're gonna just talk about the numbers. I'm gonna give you all the details and be as transparent as possible with my L's and my W's, because maybe this advice can help you at some point, right? I have one multi-unit property. I'll tell you guys how I got it. Let's go down memory lane. And don't worry, I'll give you guys a chance to get in any questions you have and that you should have, and you'll be able to. Me and him will both be reading and answering your questions live on air. So how I got my first property with Michael. I closed in December 29th, 2021. Now I'm going to go down how I found the property, the goals that I had, the down payments, all the numbers. I'm going to give you guys cash flow, the cash on cash returns, everything. I basically put down $36,000. I'm grossing $4,400 a month in rental income after expenses. After expenses. Before expenses. Sorry. I net a cash on cash. I net a cash flow about. Wait, before I go into that, Michael, can you tell everybody what a cash flow is, so everybody understands what that is?
So there's many ways to see how a property produces income. So the first way is cap rates, and that's what we go by in real estate. Cap rate is basically how to, like, from A to B, how to compare how the properties make money. So basically, is how much the property is worth relative to the purchase price. So cap rate is NOI, net operating income, over the sale price. And your NOI is actually the income that it produces from minus any factors that you can subtract from it. So vacancy and operating costs are the things that you would take out from NOI. But NOI is just your net operating income divided by the sales price.
And that's how you get and for cash flow.
Yeah, that gives you a percentage of your cap rate, but then you're also talking about cash on cash return, which that is your annual cash flow divided by the total investment you put into the property. So I think for you, I remember that the numbers it's been a while since I calculated it, but the money you were bringing in was pretty significant compared to what you actually put into the deal.
Correct. Yeah, very significant. So guys, if it does not cash flow from day one, it should be a no-go for you guys. All right, would you agree, Mike?
That's a tricky question because depending on the location, places like Hawaii, San Francisco, Austin, Texas, you're not going to really cash flow because
it's too expensive.
Yeah, but you could bank that in the future the rents will go up in those markets and you will have appreciation. So I wouldn't necessarily say that it's a bad deal if it doesn't cash flow right away, especially if you're buying a very high appreciating market. I know a friend in Hawaii that bought a property for $900K. It was a 3-family, and he wasn't cash flowing from the very beginning because the mortgage on a $900K property with his rate was pretty high at the time. It didn't make sense. But then 5 years later, the rents went up, paid off some of his mortgage. I believe he actually paid off his PMI, and then he was able to then finally cash flow it. And it's Hawaii; it's a different market. So for him, it's am I going to just sit on the sidelines and not invest, pay rent, or invest in a property that eventually will get up to speed.
Yeah, so you guys, cash flow is essentially the surplus you receive after you have deducted all expenses, mortgages, taxes, insurance, miscellaneous, etc. Whatever's left over after that is cash flow, right? And then cash on cash return, like you said, which I mentioned earlier, is your complete total cash flow for the year after expenses divided by the full amount of money that you invested into the deal, for example, right? So as I was saying, right, cash on cash return, I invested $36,377.92 into my deal, all in closing costs, $36,377.92, right? I grossed $4,400 before expenses. That's what I think I was wrong earlier. Before expenses, after expenses, I cash flowed $1,811.24. So you multiply that by 12 months, and which equals to $21,737.64. So you guys understand. So that's annually, right? Now divide that annual sum by the cash invested into the deal, which in this case would be, give me 1 second, $21,737.64, right? Now you divide that into $36,377.92, which is equal to 5975. Multiply that by 100, you get 59.75%, which is my cash on cash return. And that's a pretty crazy number. What do you think about that number, Mike, as far as cash on cash returns?
Now, for you, I think it was 21,000, about roughly your income, right?
No, for the income?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, $21,737.64.
Yeah, your annual cash flow, 21,000 over 36,000
after expenses. Yeah.
Yeah. So your cash on cash return was almost like a percentage of 58%. Which
Yeah,
is pretty,
correct. Well, it was $36,377.92.
Yeah.
Yeah, 59. So yeah, it's kind of the same thing. So how's that number as far as cash on cash returns go? What is their minimum number?
It's very good. I mean, you barely put any money into the deal. It's bringing in a lot of income in just 1 year. You know, I mean, in the stock market, we're lucky if you're even like up 9% a year. Now it's like everyone's so red because of everything's so low. We're at the bottom. Well, almost at the bottom, but
yeah. In this market,
we're good. You're pretty good.
In this market, which is a seller's market, what would you shoot for as your bare minimum cash on cash returns? Right? I mean, like given the 8.6 inflation rate, right? And given how inflation is the way it is right now, what would you say you should shoot for as far as cash on cash returns? And what would you say you have shot before the inflation?
I mean, I actually look more at the cap rate because your deal was just a little crazy because, you know, you're in a market where the rents are high. Patterson is pretty high. You got in at a really good price. And also, it also depends on how much money, because if you're buying a property as an investor, like an investor loan, you have to come in at 20-25%. So, yeah. So, in your case, you lucked out with 3.5, which that's why your cash on cash return is pretty good. So,
right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And during inflation, a cap rate of what is the typical cap rate that everybody usually? The cap rate that everybody goes for the most part.
I mean, most investors like 6 to 8%. I mean, 8% is good. Anything over 10 is great. But realistically, I mean, sometimes you're lucky if you get a 4% cap rate in Bergen County. So,
and I don't want to get too advanced, you guys, right? I want to keep this simplified as possible, so everyone gets it, right? Remember, guys, I got my property December 1st. I remember seeing YouTube videos that were talking so much, mumbo jumbo, that it tends to confuse you and make real estate seem more advanced than it actually is, right? I recommend you guys. I recommend YouTube University and Bigger Pockets, right? That's how Michael also learned. Bigger Pockets is a great way to learn about real estate, and so a lot of people also get their first beginning start at, which Michael also alluded to. Also, Grant Cardone was a good guy for me to also help me with real estate as well. Like you said, Robert Kiyosaki, that book was amazing. Rich Dad Poor Dad was very essential in just getting into real estate, understanding about investments, understanding about the difference between working being a W-2 employee and working for yourself and all that stuff. So I recommend that. You guys, real estate is by far one of the only asset classes that I know that gives investor the control to create your own wealth, right? And it puts you in a better position as a person, right? It gives you a sense of, because you get to build through appreciation, cash flow, and with both of those simultaneously, you're able to build some form of wealth, right? And then you can always do house hacking, which we can get into later, right? And you guys, this podcast is definitely educational, guys. Please hit the like button and subscribe button, please. So now you guys, I know you guys are wondering how I did the deal. How did I put down such a low amount? I did an FHA loan, you guys, which is a government program that helps you acquire your first property, right? Your first few properties. Actually, Michael, can you break down what an FHA loan actually is and the conditions of it?
So basically, yeah, it's like you said, it's a government loan. It helps people buy either their first single-family home or multifamily home at a very low down payment. So usually the lowest you can go is 3.5%, because if you're going conventional, a lot of times they require traditional 20%. So, but in order to save up for that 20%, it could take a really long time. So with FHA, you can get into a property, very low down payment. There is some like higher closing costs, but if you're buying, let's say like an investment property, FHA allows you to buy up to 2 to 4 units, and it's considered residential. So with such a low down payment, you can get into an investment property fairly easily. Like you got in at $35,000, so that's super cheap. You know, that was including your closing costs, your down payment. So, you know, to have a nice income producing, and your units were really nice. Like it was all renovated.
Correct. It was a turnkey.
Yeah. So, I mean, usually when you find turnkey properties, you don't really have a good investment because it's like the numbers are tight, but for your property, it worked out pretty good.
And can you break down what is a turnkey property? Just everybody understand what it is.
You know, it's a turnkey property is basically a property that already was renovated. It's pretty much you close on the property and people can just move in. So it was already pristine. I mean, the molding, everything with your property was just so nice. Versus buying a property that like you need to add value to it, that could take time. So a lot of people, investors, buy property that need work, and you could also take advantage of the FHA, and then it comes piggyback with the 203K loan, which the 203K loan, if you buy something that needs some work, the government gives you a certain amount of money to do the renovations after closing, and then they have their own appraiser come out to the property to make sure that everything was done up to par.
Okay. You guys, now there's a term in the real estate investment world that's called house hacking. When you purchase multifamily property, move into one of the units, your tenants move into the other vacant unit, the rent the tenants are paying, and you pay down, and they're paying down the mortgage for you. Where you end up residing in the home for free, and you may be able to make a bit of extra cash or profit depending on the situation, right, and your numbers. Now, and you can also purchase, let's say, and you can purchase, I think you can purchase no more than 4 properties, right, with the FHA loan? Or
what was that?
You can purchase no more than 4 properties with the FHA loan in total?
They have their guidelines. So, I mean, my first property was in FHA in Garfield. I did a conventional loan, 10% down. But then my second property, I bought it with FHA because it was a much higher purchase price. I bought a 3-family in Fairview, New Jersey. Yeah, it was. I bought it for $720, so definitely a steeper price. The regular conventional loan, I couldn't. You know, I mean, I could afford it. It's just it would have really wiped out a lot of my savings, and I would have been just. I rather leverage the money from the government, so that's what I did. I did FHA. It's all covered by my tenants, so why not?
So and so there's no max about how many you can purchase, how many times you can do an FHA loan. I thought it was about 3 to 4. I thought it was about 4 times.
I know you. So when you close with FHA, you have to live in the property for at least 1 year, and then in order to get another FHA, you have to have a good reason why you're, I guess, moving up to a different property. So, like for me, I left Garfield because I had no driveway, no garage, and the property I was moving into in Fairview, New Jersey, had a driveway and garage. So, in a way, FHA sees that is an upgrade for me, and it's a better, I guess, quality of life. So that's why I did FHA on my second deal.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be your first home ever to be FHA. And that's what a lot of people have a misconception about.
with only 3.5% down for each, all right, for each property you guys get. That's an insane way to come up, right? From the mud, you guys. Like you come up from the mud by putting a 3.5% down on a home. Saving up your money and then getting your first property. You see what I'm saying? And then cash flowing. Maybe if you're lucky, like I did, right? Probably immediately. You see what I'm saying? Like if you do the numbers right and everything makes sense. And it's a great way to get your portfolio started, to get into real estate. Again, the conventional loan is what most people do a lot of times, but I think the conventional loan, a lot of people can't, don't have that 20% to put down. So it's better sometimes to start with the FHA, put that 3.5% down. Sometimes you can do even 3%, right?
Not with FHA. FHA, you need 3.5.
Okay. Which one does 3%?
There are some conventional banks that do 3%, but I think those have stricter criteria than FHA.
All right, yeah. And here's a free game for you guys, right? Don't go buy any, cars or liabilities for pleasure until you buy an asset that can pay for it or pay down for whatever you're trying to buy. It's better if you take that money, like I said, the only thing you need 3.5% down for an FHA loan. Buy a property, see if you can get it to cash flow, do the right numbers, and if it works, you can then take the money you make as cash flow and go buy your liabilities or your stupid stuff or design or whatever you're into. You see what I'm saying? And so to me, right, I think real estate is more semi-passive, right, than actually passive, like everybody think it is. Like when you get into it, you see it's not really that passive. At least unless you have like a property management team, maybe after you bought a few properties. I don't think it makes sense to buy a property manager for your first 2 or 3 properties. I think you should have a few units.
Yeah,
where they can operate for you at an efficient way. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think after like you're getting a certain amount of cash flow from all properties, then you could do it. But yeah, I wouldn't do property management unless I have 10 deals or more, 10 doors at least. Mm-hmm. Right now I have 6 doors, and I quit my nursing job. I'm my own property manager, so if anything happens, I can just go to it on the spot. And I mean, me personally, I wouldn't do the work just because I have people to outsource it to, and they do a really good quality job. So for me, I rather focus on bringing new business. So working with my buyers, working with my sellers, and my hourly time, I value it a lot. So I wouldn't do the work myself. But if you're in a position where, let's say you're making $15, $20, $25 an hour, then I would probably do the work myself because, at that point, it's going to cost you a lot to pay a handy person or a contractor to do certain work. So depending where you are in life is how you evaluate who comes to the property management, and should you do the work versus hiring it to someone else. Yeah,
because I had when I spoke to a few other investors in real estate, and they were saying things like it's not always good sometimes to hire a management team right at the door, because like for let's say your first 2-3 units, because when you do that, a lot of times they won't work efficiently for you, right? Because let's say you get a property, it's like, I don't know, $6,000, right? You take that at $600. They're not gonna work that hard for $600, right? They're not gonna be doing the putting a certain level of vigor into your vetting process for your tenants. They don't really care, right? They're not gonna really go that hard to do so much background checks and this and that. They just try to get somebody in there so they can start getting paid, right? Would you agree on that or no?
No, I agree. I mean, if you have like 10 properties and they're making a certain amount from each door you have, then they're making more money on you. So
yeah.
And I think it's good for you to know if you just have one property, like a duplex and a triplex. It's good to do some of the work yourself, and people reach out to you.
Yeah,
it's manageable. Unless you have a full-time job that just you can't attend to your properties, then I would probably look for someone like a handy person on call.
Correct. Yeah, unless you again, like unless like you said, unless you make a certain amount of money to where like your time is more efficient elsewhere, then yeah, I guess it makes sense. I mean, but even then, so you don't spend a lot of time at the properties. It's probably like once a month. You may go maybe twice a month. You don't really spend too much time honestly really going to and if you're living in them doing FHA, then it don't really matter much anyway. As far as work go.
It also depends what issues come with the house. I mean, like I read a book, every house has a nasty. You just have to hope it's not a really bad one. So just make sure that if you are going to the property, or you're buying a property, make sure that you have a really good inspector at the time.
Yeah, correct. We're gonna get into that later as well.
Yeah.
There's a reason why I love like real estate and took to it so quickly. It's like the only asset class where you don't really need that much knowledge or experience, and it's a very forgiving asset class where you can make a few mistakes and still be profitable, right? Whereas crypto stocks, you make a mistake and your money is gone. Like for real. I suffered. I got $40,000 right now. I'm wishing I ain't put in. And I made mistakes with real estate, right? And my investment already, and it's been pretty forgivable for me, right? Because real estate's a little different. I'll tell you now, when you take that leap to buy your first property and invest in it, you got to have some reserves, you guys. You got to save after each purchase. Like if you're gonna buy multiple properties, save money. Make sure you have money saved on reserves after each purchase, just in case things go wrong. Believe me, they do go wrong. Like things go wrong, right? Things definitely go wrong. And me personally, I didn't need what I had. I had a 6-figure reserves, but I didn't necessarily need that. It depends on it's good to have 6 months to a year. I probably would say of money saved. I had an issue where something went wrong, a mistake, and boy oh boy, I don't even want to speak on it right now because I'm currently still in the process dealing with it to some degree. But it happened pretty quickly after ownership. That broke my heart damn near and set me back. Mike's aware of this as well. Luckily, I had the reserves to keep me strong. And another pro tip, you guys, you don't want to dump all your money into a property where your house broke, right? Like let's say you have the exact amount of money to go buy a property. It's not the best idea to do that to your house broke because you need to have reserves on standby. Mm-hmm. And if you aren't able to make the necessary repair to that property, should something arise, don't be stupid. You got to take away your money and park it into one property. Like you have to have money in the stash and prioritize importance. Your rainy day fund, liquid emergency cash that you can actually get to it at any time. 6 months, like I said, 6 months to a year. That's a good rule of thumb. Then aside from that, you gather your investment money. If it's an FHA loan, you're going for 3.5% down. If you're going for a conventional loan, 20% down. If you got a VA loan, I think you only need taxes for that. But whatever you got going on, make sure that your money is separate for emergency liquid fund. You know what I'm saying? You just want to have money to where if something goes wrong, you're safe because things do happen randomly and you'd be surprised, man. You want to touch on that, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, my first year, I already had a few issues with my Garfield property. The upstairs unit, no, the second unit, the middle unit, called me saying that there was a leak coming from the ceiling, and I had to call one of my guys. We had to to remove the sheetrock. Noticed there was a leak from the upstairs toilet, so I had to get a new toilet for them. Replace their sheetrock, all that stuff. So you're gonna get your phone calls here and there. Another call I got was a few of the outlets weren't working for my top unit, the third unit. So I had to get an electrician guy out there to So like you said, have your reserves. The book that I recommend was Set for Life by Scott Trench, who is the CEO of Bigger Pockets.
Okay.
And, in the book, he says, I think a standard is like $25,000 you should have on standby just in case if you're house hacking.
This standard amount. I know the standard amount. Okay.
Yeah, I would say, your most expensive thing on a house can cost you $10,000 or maybe more. But if you have 15, 25,000, I think that's good to have.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. It pretty much covers, for the most part, anything that goes wrong unless it's like a huge fire or something crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's why you also need good insurance for the property.
Yeah, correct. What mistakes have you seen people make in regards to investment deals that they purchased since you've been doing real estate? Outside of mine.
I mean, what I've seen people that are doing is that they're overpaying for certain properties that aren't worth it. Especially, we just had a crazy seller's market, so people were just bidding up for homes that were just insanely expensive. And if the property already had tenants that have been living there, they couldn't get rid of them. And if those tenants were there for 20 years, the rent was $1,100 for market value that was $2,000, $2,500. So overpaying, and acquiring tenants that are just paying below market rents. So that could really put you at it could really jeopardize you.
Oh, okay. All right. So you guys, this is why real estate is amazing, right? If you run the numbers and you do it right, not only are you receiving the cash flow monthly, which as we discussed earlier is, no more than the surplus you receive once expenses are deducted and paid. But on top of that, your tenants are paying down your mortgage, man. Like that is a huge benefit. They're putting equity into your home. And let's not forget the general appreciation you're receiving as time goes on, because real estate is one of the few things that actually appreciate over time, assuming you don't buy into a bad area and you all those other things. But and even if a crash happens, like what may happen looking at the way things are going now, you don't really lose the appreciation you have unless you sell, right? But and honestly, if you hold on to it long enough, it probably will appreciate anyway, honestly, over time. And make no mistake, you can lose. And now, make no mistake, you can lose money, buying homes, and you can go house poor and go bankrupt. Not knowing what you're doing, right? Which we discussed earlier. This is why places like Bigger Pockets and listening to people like Robert Kiyosaki is so important when you're buying real estate, right? Would you agree, Mike? Or
I agree, especially for your property in Patterson. I just keep seeing headlines for like these new lofts are being built, these investors are dumping money into it. So it's like, even if the market dips a little bit, long term, you're going to be okay if your area is just like being built up so much. So yeah, and you bought near the train station, which is really awesome because I think it's like a 8 to 10 minute walk to the train station that takes you to Penn Station, which eventually over time that's just going to keep bringing up the area.
Yeah, at some point, yeah, correct. And anyone can invest in real estate, right? Even with a regular W-2 job and an FHA, with a regular W-2 job and an FHA loan, you can save up some money, pull this shit off easily. Honestly, you can take your income tax, right? Probably save up 2 years in a row if you have to, with some savings, and be able to get your first property. And with three income taxes a year for 3 years straight and some savings, you're guaranteed pretty much to get you a house, right? And you can begin your first, start in house hacking, right? After that, save up your rent if you have to, whatever you got to do. For the most part. Michael, can you explain to people about what is a BRRRR?
Buy, refinance, repeat. So BRRRR is basically when you buy a property that needs some work, you can add value to it. You could renovate the kitchen, renovate the bathrooms. I'll do all these little things to basically update the house and bring it up to the market value. And then eventually, if you get an appraisal, get a refinance, then you could pull some money out and then use that money onto your next property. So it's a great way to build wealth really quickly. So that's actually what I'm attempting. I have an LLC, and we're attempting to find a nice off-market deal that needs work.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have money aside for the renovation. And then once we could refinance, pull the money out and then on to the next deal.
What is a bare minimum credit score needed to begin in real estate, you would say?
For FHA, I think I've seen credit scores as low as 600s. I had a buyer once buy something. It was single family, but she bought it with like 580. So, and at the time she got like a high rate, which in today's standards is a very low rate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So when everyone was getting like a 2.5, she got like a 4%. But now in today's market, 4% is like so low.
What's the rates going on right now? If you don't mind me asking.
Right now that I'm aware of, like 5.7.
5.7?
Yeah, one of my buyers just got pre-approved for 5.7.
I think mine was let me see. Mine was 3.25.
Yeah.
Right?
Good times, huh?
And we bought a few months apart, so that's kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah, I got my first house for 2.9, and that was 10% down, no PMI.
Man, that was beautiful.
Yeah, that I have that property fully rented out now, and I'm cash flowing $1,700 a month. So
money, man.
Yeah, that's my cash cow. And then now I'm in Fairview. I'm house hacking here, so I live in the middle unit, the nicest unit. And then upstairs, they're paying me rent. And then I actually have a vacant unit, which I have to occupy very soon.
Okay. Here's some. You guys like the video. Comment. subscribe. This is free game, you guys. You're not getting this nowhere else. Now, for your property, right? You guys don't go buy a home to live. Right? I think that's kind of I think your first property should not be a home you live in. I tell people this all the time. It's like stupidity 101. And it's like, because a lot of people think, I want to ask your opinion on this, Mike. A lot of people think buying a home to live in as your first home is an asset, when in actuality, it's a liability, right? Because if you can't make that mortgage, payment, if you can't, even if you got your home paid off, you can't make that tax payment, you run the risk of losing your home, right? Or the taxes, etc. So buying a home, unless you're making money off of it, is a liability. Versus if you buy a home or multifamily, you rent it out, you have other tenants paying the other rents, etc., and you're living in it, then it's then it's clearly an asset, right? Which is kind of similar to like buying a car, right? A car is a liability because you're driving around, it's depreciating as you go. But if that same car was being used for Toro or Uber or whatever, where you're making money off that car, and you're able to afford the bills and the maintenance of the car while still having extra cash left over, whatever the case may be, then it's an asset. Would you agree?
Yes and no. I mean, multifamily obviously is just the better way of building your wealth and generational wealth. But if it's if you're renting versus buying a single family house, then I would take the single family house, because I had worked with a lot of buyers back in 2020 and 2021 that, with the market going crazy, they all built up 50 to 100K of equity because of just the crazy natural market that we were in. So, I'm not anti buying I know Grant Cardone is not a big fan of buying a single family home. It could cripple you, but if it's if it's you and you have a wife and you both have really stable jobs, high producing incomes, I mean, I know clients that just don't want to deal with multifamily. So I guess it also depends on the individual. Mm-hmm. I would rather take a single family house than go rent at somewhere luxurious. But
of course.
Yeah. So, but no, I mean, hands down, multifamily is the most indestructible, best asset to get. I would rather invest in that than any crypto or something. Like, that's why I'm so bullish on real estate.
Yeah, much better returns than especially now.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not anti people buying single family homes, because at the end of the day, not everyone wants to buy multifamily. But if you have that investing mindset, I would definitely recommend it.
But see, the thing with buying so let's say you buy a single family home, right, to live in with you and your your wife or kids or whatever, right? The problem is now you're still stuck paying that mortgage. Whereas if let's say you bought what I'm saying is, I'm not against buying it. What I'm saying is you should buy it after you bought your investment, to where now that investment is paying. Let's say you buy a multifamily house, right? Mm-hmm. Then you go buy you a single family house. Well, now that investment is paying for that mortgage in your new house. You see what I'm saying? Where you can live in that. Yeah. That's what I say is more of a, more of an optimal strategy than just buying a single family house outright. What do you think about that?
Yeah, as long as the multifamily you're buying is an actual good multifamily, because if you're buying a multifamily where overpriced or the taxes are crazy, like
correct.
It really depends on the deal you're buying.
Okay, yeah, that's for sure.
Because there's a lot of multifamilies on the market that I'm like, those are not good deals.
Yeah, we see a few actually, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. So
long, extensive search. Give me 1 second. So, what's the top 3 mistakes you've made when you bought your property, and since you bought your first and second property?
Mistakes. I hate to say that, but I was very prepared when I bought my property. Like, I studied for almost 4 years, 5 years actually. So like, I read a lot of books, and the good thing about books is that it saves you from 5 years of mistakes. So I would say that I was very fortunate when I started, because I just knew. I already listened to 500 episodes of Bigger Pockets before I bought my house. So like, the amount of knowledge and mistakes and horror stories I heard, like, I was already prepared. So, it took me a very long time to buy my investment property, but then when I did, I was ready. I mean, I was scared when I first bought my property, because I was actually buying a 3-family house, and the bottom unit reeked of cigarette.
Oh man.
And
Oh.
at first, I have a history of asthma, so I was like, shit, if I can't get rid of the smell, how am I gonna live in it? So it took me like a month to get rid of the cigarette smell. I like painted the wall, changed like the cabinets, painted the cabinets. I just cleaned the place up, aired it for like a month straight, windows open. Like finally, the scent was gone. But yeah, I haven't had too many mistakes with multifamily just because I was also a real estate agent, so I already helped so many. I already helped so many people buy houses by then that like I already knew the process. Even buying my second property, I was like, I should be scared of buying my property, or a little nervous, but I really wasn't.
Yeah, my mistakes. One was it was like more of a double-edged sword and a mistake. So when you offered to find my tenants for me, mistake, right? I take you up on that, right? And it's a double-edged sword because I wanted to get the hands-on experience of doing it myself, which I learned a lot from, right? Whereas if you did it for me, it'd been a lot more easier, more efficient, and just could avoid a lot of more headaches. But a lot more headaches, and just time efficient, right? But I learned a lot from doing that. Like, I mean, a lot from doing it. Just sourcing your tenants, seeing what kind of tenants you want in your property. Because when you do it yourself, you're able to see, okay, who's going into your property.
Yeah.
Who's going in, their background, their history, everything you know about your tenant before they go in that house. If they're good long term, everything you know what I'm saying? Whereas if somebody does it for you, you don't really have a knowledge sometimes of what's going in. You don't really have a knowledge of what you're dealing with. So you may have somebody living in there, you didn't do it yourself, you outsource it. Okay, cool. They're paying rent for the next 3 months, but out of nowhere, it stops paying. You don't know why or what happened. Nobody knows what's going on with it. You don't know nothing.
Yeah.
So it puts you in a bad position, kind of. And I'm very thorough. Like I like to really know what's going on in my situation. I'm like a kind of a control freak in that sense. So because I've seen tenants do all kinds of stuff. Like I've seen tenants come in, fake pay stubs, fake job numbers, pretend they don't do this. Tell me they don't smoke and smell like smoke because he just got finished smoking. I had one tenant say I don't smoke, and I remember looking at her out the window, throwing a cigarette on the floor. You see what I'm saying? Like all kind of nonsense. You know what I'm saying? Or saying that they've been paying rent for 12 months. I called the landlord, he never paid rent. Or saying that they've been paying rent for 12 months. Asked for paid rent receipts for the last 12 months. They can't produce them. All kind of nonsense. Saying they've never been evicted before. I go on a court document records for New Jersey, like several evictions. Like all of the nonsense, right? So it's probably still currently in court. It's crazy, right? So
the crazy part too is that there's a lot of landlords that don't do that. They don't screen their tenants. And I'm like, when you inherit this tenant, did you screen her? And he's like, no. I was like, did you ever look up to see if she had evictions? And like, if you look at the tenant report, it says there's multiple evictions, this and that. I'm like, well, you didn't do your job of screening the right tenant,
Yeah, I go on their social medias to see if they got a picture of weed in their hand or anything I can find. Because when you look for tenants, it's like looking for a wife, right? You want to make sure you do the right, proper pedigree. You want to do the right, proper vetting process. You want to instill proper strategies to make sure that, all right, because a lot of guys end up with, bad tenants and they end up bad situations because the vetting process was either lax or they need to re-strategize their vetting process, right? That bad vetting process to where, you know what I mean? Or either they outsourced it and they didn't know what they were going into. So I think a lot of people don't invest enough time into that. And I'm somebody who's very big on, getting to know who I'm dealing with, who I'm getting in bed with, just to make sure I avoid as much problems as possible. I want to mitigate risk, right? Anything you do when you're investing your money, you want to mitigate risk. I don't care if it's real estate, stocks, women, whatever it is, you want to mitigate risk as much as possible. So a lot of people, they don't care to go. Like I was going to tenants' houses, right? I was going to your house. Like part of my process was, okay, at the end of the process, I have to visit your home, see how you currently keep your home. I wasn't looking for like like dirt. I was looking for like regular house stuff. I was looking more for structural damage, stuff like that. You know what I mean? So just to avoid certain problems, especially if you're accepting, what do you call it?
Section 8.
Section 8 tenants, correct. You definitely want to be, what is your have you had any experience with Section 8 tenants yourself or?
Yeah. So what I do as a real estate agent is, I know you wanted to take it on your hands, but most clients that I come across, they buy their multifamily and they're working their full-time jobs, so they don't have time to find tenants. So, I mean, you better hope that that real estate agent that you have representing you to find a tenant is doing a proper job. I mean, most of them just post up something and then, I mean, they do an NTN report, but like for me, I go the extra mile and I call the landlords, I call the jobs, the previous landlords before the current landlord, everything. So the current landlord might say they're paying good rent, but in reality, they may not be paying and they just want to get rid of that tenant. So,
correct. I actually had an issue like that. I had called the landlord. Literally, this is a true story. Tenant had said, been doing good. Tenant finally, I'm like, listen, yo, I'm gonna call your landlord. So tell me something different. It's gonna be a problem. I'm letting you know. So they're like, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's been issues. I haven't been paying rent. All the stuff. All right. I called the landlord anyway. The landlord said, nah, she's been a great tenant. Rent's paid at the bar. Mind you, the tenant admitted to me that they didn't have not paid rent. But it's just crazy how she had the landlord was trying to lie for her just to get out of that property. You see what I'm saying? So you can't even trust calling the landlord at times. That's why
I called the previous landlord before that.
Correct. So that's why I instilled a new process to where I'm asking for 12 months of paid rent receipts. Right. And I learned that process from At My Desk 197. Shouts to him. Asking for that now because of COVID. You want to ask for that because a lot of landlords want these guys out of their homes. You know what I mean? Because a lot of them have to pay rent for months or year to 2 years, however long COVID was. So if they can get them out, they get them out. How they have to get it. So for me to combat, the lying landlord, because the tenant may lie, the landlord may lie, ask for paid rent receipts, you guys. That is major key in combating that problem. What's your ideas on that?
No, I think that's great. I mean, also call their job, see what kind of work ethic they have. Is there any complaints about the individual? Because sometimes you call their job, you speak to their coworkers, they'll tell you the truth about that person. So.
Yeah, they will. But see, you know what I did also? I made a verification of employment. So now I ask for your resources, your human resources. Send how they do for the mortgage? How China did for my mortgage? I did the same thing with them now. I made a whole verification of employment. They got to send to me just to verify they're working there, how much they've been making, all that stuff and everything else. And so to me, it's also better because now I'm speaking directly to the human resources rather than one of their friends. Because a lot of times I ran into a lot of people sending their friends to come call me or one of their text now numbers that's really them behind the number pretending to be somebody else. I mean, one time I called somebody's job and it was literally them answering the phone. I'm like, it was nonsense. So, you guys, one of the most important things you can do, just to sum everything up, in being a landlord and investing in real estate, right, and dealing with tenants, is invest time into that screening process. That is something a lot of landlords are lax on. Or either they outsource or just don't do a good vetting system. It's like, like I said before, it's like when you deal with a woman. If you don't invest enough time, energy, have a system in place to which you can determine someone's character, background, and reliability of that person. Like my mother used to say, RIP to her, you're cruising for a bruising. That's why people end up with horrible tenants or bad significant others in their life, because almost 97% of the time is due to a poor or a lax vetting process you have in place. Another mistake I made in real estate, right? And I didn't check everything out in the home 100%, right? Like down to the nooks and crannies, right? Because I don't think I even told you this one. The refrigerator on the first floor wasn't operational. It didn't work.
It wasn't working?
No, it wasn't working. It was the lights was on. It didn't cool. I didn't know it didn't cool. So when we was there, I thought it was just the way it was. It didn't cool. The upstairs one cool, right? Mm-hmm. So that one didn't cool. So now I had to call. But I thought it wasn't working because I thought I had to turn something on. So I never bothered with it. So I thought it was gonna come on later on. I tried to fix it. It wasn't working. So I had to call. I eventually got them able to replace it for free. Nice. I called I had to replace it for free. I let them know that, hey, I was the one who purchased it. Can you replace it for free, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, normally brand new appliances you have a warranty and stuff.
That's the good thing with turnkey, because everything's brand new typically. So because it was a brand new purchase, and honestly, I guess the place he bought the place. I guess it was Piece of Riches. I happened to guess, and it happened to be that. I just didn't know where he bought it from exactly. But when I called the company, maybe they call center or whatever, they let me know where it was actually purchased at and everything else, and that was it. I knew the guy's name who bought it from, so that was easy for me to get the property and get the And I'm like, listen, hey, he's my contractor. Actually, I'm the one who purchased it. Can you just replace it? And they replaced it. So that's good. They still took the old one out. But yeah, you guys want to definitely and whenever you're buying a home, check out every single thing, man. Check out every single thing down to the refrigerator. Make sure it cools. Check out the water. Check out the basement. Make sure there's no leaks. Make sure there's no termite. Whatever you got to do to check, ensure as much as possible, man. I'm telling you right now, because you'll be stuck with a bill or an extra expense you didn't plan for. This is why reserves is important, you guys. You guys gotta have reserves, man, because things happen to where you're stuck with that. Once you buy that home, and Michael told me, once you buy that home, you are stuck with that bill. He told me that during the process with the sewage inspection and everything like that. So make sure you guys invest into that stuff. And my third one, I think the third mistake I made was not having a handyman on deck, on standby. Especially for that area, right? You want to have a handyman on standby, because it makes things a lot easier, especially when you can just call right up and moves fast. I didn't have that, so I had to figure things out. I had to scramble at the last minute, call somebody and that until I finally found somebody who's a little bit more reliable. And also I'm able to do the little things on my own as well. So I'll go in and start if this is like I did on live at one point, inspecting a paint job or nailing something, or I had to put the closet back on hinges and stuff like that. So it's good to have a handyman on deck, you guys, just in case situations. You want to ideally find that, to me, before you even probably buy a property, to be honest with you, unless you're buying like a 2 or 3 loan where you're like waiting a few months, then you can do it in that process. Michael, what's your take on buying a property using leverage, aka the bank's money, aka the loan, versus buying all out cash, owning a property fully outright? I
mean, that's what I go by. That's what I did with my house right here in Fairview. I bought it with FHA 3.5. The government provided all the funds to fund the house, so I'm all about it. Why spend all your money on one property when you can divide that into 5 different homes and then have the bank pay the rest of the balance?
Yeah, from what I gathered, and there's tons of examples to support this, you guys.
That's like the Dave Ramsey approach, buying everything cash.
You did what? Say it again?
That's like Dave Ramsey approach, like buying everything cash versus.
Yeah, I don't know why he says that. I never understood that, because it doesn't even make sense from a tax perspective. Like, you get a lot of tax benefits when you can just doing the leverage thing. Like, why would you buy everything straight cash when you can take them? I mean, I get it. You want to own it at some point, but it's more cost efficient because the money you use to buy everything straight cash, you can buy much more properties over that time frame and be generating a lot more money than putting it all into one asset. You do what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It doesn't even make sense, honestly, from a financial perspective.
And by the time you save up so much money for like even 25-30% down, it's like the value of the home just keeps going up. So you're like trying to save, trying to catch up to, it's just tough. So yeah, low down payments is a way to go, especially in multifamily.
People who use leverage to purchase a property, aka the bank's money, debt, ends up leveraging debt, ends up like earning anywhere from 3 to 5 times the amount of money over a 20-year span than someone who buys everything cash outright, right? So I think it makes more sense. Plus, all the heavy hitters in the real estate game suggest that you buy a home leveraging debt, right? Robert Kiyosaki, for example, shout out to him. What's your take, Mike? And how do you feel about how do you feel that as far as like buying it outright? Buying it outright before you not buying it outright, paying it down first before you buy the next property. How do you feel on that?
I guess that depends on your risk level and how comfortable you feel buying your next property. I mean, for me, I jumped into my next deal like really quick. With less than 2 years, I already bought my second investment home. But my risk tolerance is higher, and I have more money on the side in case if something does go wrong. I don't know if you know Tak Nguyen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's big. Like, he told me that in his podcast, he was talking about like at a certain point, peace of mind is very important. Mm-hmm. So, it's not about buying all these properties, like 100 or 1,000 properties and, being this real estate mogul. mogul. It's about, having peace of mind. And if you're super over leveraged, and let's say a crash happens and you don't have enough funds to pay all of these mortgages, then you're in
you're right. You're actually right. Yeah, that's true.
So I mean, at some point you do need some peace of mind. So it depends on the individual. Some people might cap out at 10 properties. Some people might stop at 20, and then try to focus on paying off some of those properties off. Have one or two paid off in case something does go wrong. You could always sell it, pull the money out, and then pay off your mortgages.
Now, that's actually a better. That's actually a great strategy. Actually, that makes a lot more sense. Actually.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, I'll probably buy another 2 or 3 more properties myself. But after that, I'm gonna focus on just starting paying them off because now, let's say everyone's not paying, and I owe a lot of money with the mortgages, and then I don't make the payments, then I'm screwed.
So you're planning on capping out at about 5 for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in Bergen County, so this market is pretty expensive. It's not like the Midwest where, if you have $1 million in real estate debt, you could have 20 doors versus here. I'm at 1.2 million in debt, but I have 6 doors to my name. So.
Oh, okay, that's good. Okay, that's good. Yeah, so just to bring everything full circle, you guys, when you start out, you want to utilize leverage. You want to the bank's money, because any deal for the most part will work depending on what your personal goals are. And numbers being ran correctly and all that stuff, right? If it's an FHA, it's 3.5% down, or a conventional loan 20% down, either way can work for you, right? Like the beginning stage, if you're in the beginning stages like me, where I did an FHA loan, you can make it work as long as the numbers make sense, and you can gain some type of, you get to gain cash flow, some type of equity, and as you grow your portfolio, you're able to earn more money so you can put down and buy cash deals, right? Like how the guy you mentioned tax deals a lot of times at some point, right? Buy tax deals and because if you buy cash, I think cash deals get you more deals, right? Like you can get a better price than someone who buys with a loan, correct?
Like hard money lenders, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's considered cash.
What can you break down what is a hard money lender and how does it work?
I personally never use hard money, but I've worked with a lot of clients that use hard money. So hard money is basically some company that lets you borrow, whether it's for a renovation. Most of the time it's done for flips. Mm-hmm. So they let you borrow the money for 1 to 2 years, and then within that time frame you could buy the property cash, do the renovations, because they'll give you some of the money for the renovations. They have to make sure that the ARV is there, after value repair. You have to buy at a certain price point where it makes sense that there is profit in the deal, and then get it sold. So I mean, the theory is good, but the risk with hard money lenders is it's a higher interest rate. I mean, now it's anywhere from 8 to 11%, mm-hmm. And you got to get rid of that because there's points added to it. There's the high interest rates, which could eat up the cash flow or the profits you make from the flip. So a lot of things with our hard money. I recommend it if you're experienced and you know exactly what you're doing. But if you're just starting off, my recommendation is house hacking, buying rental properties, building up, at least understand real estate in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then you can start going into the flips and the bigger projects.
Mm-hmm. Hard money lending, that's when you do the cash deals, in which, is when you go to a home owner, go to a homeowner's door, knock on the door, cold approach, and ask what he's selling it for, make an offer on his home where you're able to close quickly. Since it's not a bank loan, it can be done, within probably 2 weeks or so, right? And this is a lot of times this is much more appealing to a lot of sellers, which is what I hear. And it would motivate them to close with you faster than a loan, someone trying to purchase the property with a loan, right? A bank loan, because it's a quicker process for them. They may be pressed time, etc. So it's less of a hassle to deal with you. Plus, when you buy a home with a mortgage, there's a lot more things in place to protect you as the buyer. Not a mortgage, a bank loan. It's a lot more things to protect you as a buyer. So it takes a lot longer for you to close. Whereas a cash buyer, typically they know their stuff to do everything themselves. They don't just buy and don't really matter what's really going on. A lot of times they'll just figure out later on as they go because they're a little bit more experienced. It just it just makes a lot of times it makes more sense for them. Which brings me to my next question, Mike. Would you also yourself ever invest in like a hard money lender, or you wouldn't even deal with that at all? You'd rather stay with the loans?
Would I like use a hard money lender myself?
Yeah.
I mean, I think down the road, I would love to do a flip. Once I have all my teams and everything checked off. I think with doing a flip, you better make sure you have the right contractors, electricians, plumbers. Everyone needs to be on point that you could fully trust, because you don't want a bad flip, because that could really eat up all your profit and potentially set you back in real estate.
Now, can you tell everybody what a HELOC is, and also a cash out refinance, and how it makes a difference from cash out refinance to HELOC?
So HELOC is basically home equity loan. Mm-hmm. So basically the bank can lend you money on the equity of the house, and some banks do like 80 to 75% of the value of the home, and that money then becomes kind of like a line of credit, and you could use that to buy your next property. And then you do have to pay it back, but it's at a much lower interest rate. Maybe like, I haven't looked into the HELOC rates recently, but I remember I got quoted from a bank in Trustco Bank. This was back in 2021 that a HELOC was a rate of 1.9. So you could borrow money at very cheap costs.
Mm-hmm. And a cash out refinance.
Cash out refinance basically is when you refinance a property and you pull out the money from like the equity you accumulated, and then you could use that money to invest in another property.
Yeah. So just to recap, you guys, a HELOC is basically you take a line of credit, you take a line of credit out on a property that you own. So let's say you own a home worth $1 million. With the HELOC, and a bank, for instance, like TD, for example, you would say, okay, your home is worth $1 million. They'll give you 80% of the home, right? Which is what it's worth for the most part. And then now you got $800K now in a line of credit that you can now dip from and take what you need for maybe a down payment for another property, or a few properties at that amount, to be honest with you, and do some repairs or whatever you need to take care of. People tend to compare a HELOC to a cash out refinance, but with a cash out refinance, you're taking out money from your equity built up in your home over time. The major differences here is simply is like a HELOC is a revolving door of credit, and a cash out refinance is a one-time thing you have to keep applying for, reestablish your credit for and everything, right? With the HELOC, you always have that credit line to dip your hands in, whereas cash out refinance, you have to continually get your credit pulled and reapply it over and over again. Another comparison is it's easy to get It's easy to get a cash out refinance than a HELOC, because many banks are against giving you a HELOC on investment properties that aren't your primary residence for the most part. Even one of the banks I heard it do it for the most part, but I'm not sure they still do. I don't know. Michael, what is the best real estate investment strategy in your opinion? Fix and flip, buy and hold, turnkey, BRRRR, etc.
For me, I didn't come from a wealthy family. And for me, what made sense and got me really quick into the real estate space was house hacking. It just made sense to me. You buy a 2 to 4 unit house, live in one unit, rent out the others. Whether it could either offset your mortgage or pay it off completely, or you can even cash flow while you live in it. Depends on your market and what deals are present at the time when you're looking. So house hacking to me is like probably the easiest, most convenient way for like your average middle to lower class person build wealth over time. So it's just because once you take out your housing expenses, that's when you can really escalate in life, may take more chances, save up more money. So for me, that's what I do. I own 2 homes, and the mortgages are just covered by the.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think house hacking to me is the most efficient way for somebody to come up from the mud, right? Somebody that has nothing really going on that's trying to just get into real estate. And it just makes, to me, just like you said, just makes more sense. Like financially, it just makes a lot more sense, right? From a long-term perspective than just the beginning. But I say that also as you can't utilize a one size fits all strategy to some degree, because depending on the numbers, a fix and flip may make more sense than a buy and hold, right? Or vice versa. A turnkey may make more sense than, I don't know, a scenario where you gotta do a rehab, like a burr. So, I think every situation is different depending on, the numbers, what your goals are. But, it depends. But I think house hacking is one of the most efficient ways to do it, in my opinion. Like you said, and myself, what is a REIT? What REIT, what that is, and and let the viewers know.
REIT.
Yeah.
I'm actually not this is where you have to be like really humble. I'm not like super. I'm really good at certain things in real estate, but you can't know everything in this space. So like I'm familiar with it, but to be comfortable in explaining it, I'm actually not. That's like not my expertise. So, and I'm humble enough to say that I'm not gonna know everything in this space. Real estate is huge. It's just so much to know. I know about investing. I know about flipping and all this stuff, but you're constantly learning, and that's the beautiful thing about this space. It's just like every day I'm learning something new.
That's real right there, man. I like that. I like that. A lot of people can't. A lot of people try to, if they don't know something, they'll try to just tell you on the top of their head rather than just being humble and admit, like, listen, I may know exactly what that is back. You know what I mean? Like, again, that's why I like working with you, because your honesty, your candor was amazing, and just your overall knowledge of what we were doing, because you knew exactly what I was trying to do, right? You knew it hand in hand. You knew how to invest. You knew the numbers. You knew how to work with it. You knew even my property. I didn't trust in it at first, right? Remember, I didn't even want to do it. I didn't even want to do it. You like, listen, man, this is it. You call me. This is it. Come see. At least come see it. I only wanted a 4-family. I didn't want to see anything else but a 4-family. I didn't even think it was on 3 families. I thought the numbers of doors mattered rather than the actual. I didn't think about the actual cash flow. I thought the number of doors equal actual cash flow, and that's not always the case, right? No. So we're stuck with that mindset. I kept thinking, okay, more doors, and now I'm cash flowing a lot more than a lot of doors. Where I've seen guys who do conventional loans, put 20% down, right? 20% down on a property, has more doors than me, and I cash flow more than them. Cash flow more than them with my one. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't make sense. So I've learned, like, bro, it depends on your situation. Like, a lot of guys will have, a conventional loan property, or even did a fix and flip, right? I mean, a burr, and a cash flowing $980, right? Because all that money, you know what I'm saying? So whereas my situation, I did a great situation. So, what's your opinion of what I just said just now?
No, you're 100% right. Like, a 2-family could make more money than a 3 or 4 family, because especially there's a notion here in Northern New Jersey that it's a 3-4 family, landlords feel like they can just price it up. And if you're buying a 3 or 4 family and your units are like this small and they're all like 1 bedrooms, there's only so much rent you can collect from those.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
You're paying a lot for the property, and you're not getting that much rental income, because if it's a 1 bedroom, there's just only so much rent you could get from each unit. So I wouldn't necessarily. You got to look at the overall picture of taxes, the size of the rooms, how many bedrooms, how many everything, and make a better judgment depending on each deal.
Correct. So let's finally cover my property,
Which is why we look at cap rate, because cap rate is what's the income that it's producing versus the sale price. Not how many units, not how many doors. It's the actual income the property produces over the purchase price.
The annual income, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
NOI. The NOI.
NOI, yeah. So let's finally cover my property search and deal in depth, right? I'm gonna take you guys on a journey with Mike. I'm gonna say this is it was a very difficult process, right, to find a trustworthy realtor, right? I think, because my process of finding a realtor was kind of annoying at first. This is before I met Mike. I think I started searching in, I believe, June. I began saying, okay, I'm ready to buy in June, because I did a deal with I did a stock investment. I put like 40-some thousand to a stock, and I listened to one of my friends give bad advice, and it did bad, right? I'm still stuck in that stock that I can't pull out of because I don't want to lose the money, right? Because that's when you actually lose when you have to pull out. It was a bad decision. And I had it in a stock that, mind you, he told me to pull out a stock that ended up in 2 months shooting up. I mean, it went from the stock I had in it was at $17, right, a share. It shot up to $300 a share. 2 months later, listening to him, I pulled out of that stock and I ended up losing money. But I was ready to cry, right? So
I know some guys that lost big time in crypto too. Like they bought this shit coin and
I lost with
they're
Dogecoin.
down.
I lost I think it was $12,000 Dogecoin right now. I mean, I didn't lose because I didn't pull out, but my money is still invested with Dogecoin right now. Dogecoin is doing horrible. Oh my god. So yeah. So my process of finding a realtor was the morning to say at least. I think I went about it. I was calling up. First of all, I didn't know how to find a realtor, right? Went on Google, realtors. EXP pops up, right? Find realtors. A lot of them are part-time realtors. Now, the first few I found, they were part-time. They also didn't own real estate. And I knew from Bigger Pockets, you want someone who owns real estate, right? But I wasn't finding them. So I just said, okay, let me just consolidate on whoever I get. And I kept getting the Cuban own real estate. Okay, cool. And they all were part-time. So as I'm looking for real estate, I would tell him, listen, remember I told you before, I was strict about the 4-family thing. 4-family, the numbers got to make sense, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of them were showing me single-family homes. Like this, so you can see, they want me to see other options, right? I'm like, no, I'm trying to invest. That's my major thing I'm trying to do here. They kept trying to show me single-family homes, maybe 2-family, maybe if I'm lucky, stuff like that. They wasn't really going into depth. Then one day, I forgot how I found Darren, because that's the guy you work with, right? Darren, right?
Yeah.
How I found Darren. I think it was maybe had been typed in the best realtor or something like that. I'm not sure what I typed in. Or maybe on Instagram or something. I know I popped up. I hit him up. He said, okay, show me your he asked me what was my pre-approval. I think it was 770 at the time. Later on I got the one that was 380K, but I think it was 770,000 my pre-approval back then. I'm not sure. He said, okay, because at first he said, okay, I'm gonna get you somebody. He got me you. That's how I remember meeting you. But can you give everybody a example to let everybody know how we met and everything for the most part? Your own opinion?
So yeah, I mean, Darren is one of like the most. He was one of the top producing agents in New Jersey. He actually moved to Florida recently, so he's no longer here.
He got married too, right?
Yeah, he got married. I was at his wedding, so it was a really good wedding. But yeah, no, I mean, Darren walked me through my deals when I was like getting started, and even before COVID, like I met Darren through real estate event meetups and all that stuff. So, and I remember listening to his actual episode 48 on the Bigger Pockets, and it was a really good one where it was talking about investing in New Jersey, all the good, everything I really wanted to know about investing in New Jersey. So it made sense. It gave me hope that it is possible to invest in New Jersey. This is an expensive market. So, Darren connected me. He knows that I'm really big into the investing space. I also do my own investing meetups. I have 2 houses right now that are both, they're good deals. My first one was on the MLS, and then the second one was an off-market deal. So, and I've worked with so many investors, like before you and after you. That's all I do is investors. And then like just today I uploaded right before this I had to upload another rental listing because all my landlords want me to help them find tenants. So that's what I do. My bread and butter is investing.
So when I want to stress this, right? When you have a realtor you trust, I don't care how much you think you know, they have access to certain lists and properties off markets, etc., that you don't have, right? So it's good that it's good for you to have access to. Plus, they do this day in and day out, like how Michael does, right? So he can help you in ways that you may overlook, things you probably don't see, give you some advice, because he was very instrumental in my property purchase, right? It's things I thought I knew that I clearly did not know, right? I thought from watching Bigger Pockets YouTube would teach me. It's just working with a realtor who knew what they were doing. That's what it was for me working with him. Why I consolidated on him. It was refreshing, right? I was working with a bunch of realtors who didn't know what they were doing, part-time. They never even owned a property in their lives, etc. He knew what I was looking for from the get-go, right? It was times where I was suggesting, he'd be like, no, the numbers won't work. He'll tell me the numbers don't work. Then I'll run them like, oh, yeah, he's right, it don't work, right? Or he'll give me, he's very instrumental in this process. Like, he's very educational. So it was things that I understand how things work. I didn't understand how, living in certain situations, or even if somebody's living in there, how maybe, how the tenants may act, or how things may work, or, just things in general, right? So just having, what's going on? Is that you, Don? Sure. So somebody signed on. But, just having somebody who's very, very knowledgeable about the real estate market and about investing in real estate, to me, was very significant in my process. And I appreciate you for that, Mike. For real, man.
Thank you.
Having you was the best, like, honestly, because you don't realize how instrumental having a good realtor is until you've had bad ones, right? Because I've had the bad ones first, finding you was like, oh my God. When Darren, it was like, oh my God, perfect, right? Like, and you really put the effort in. Like, we were going in days in, day in and day out. Like, you was with me for months at one point, months, right? We was together for a long time because I was very picky and I didn't want to change my what I wanted. I wanted specifically a multiple family, so it had to be a 4 family. It had to be 4 units, top, guaranteed. And I want to look nice, turnkey for the most part, or I want to do a rehab. Remember, I want to do a rehab. I got approved for a 2 or 3K loan at $880K, I believe. So I want to do that as well. Then you called me one day. I never get this call. You said, hey, listen, I have to send me a text message first. Hey, check your phone. Sent you these property we gotta go see tomorrow though. Gotta act on it quick. It's new to the market. I'm like, oh, what is it? I got 2 family. Oh my God. He's like, listen, it may work. Let's go see. It's cheaper than what you're looking for. Cause I was looking at properties for like 900K, I believe, right?
Yeah, 6 to 8.
6 to 800K, right? So I'm like, listen, this one. He's like, listen, this one right here may be a good one for you. It's cheaper what you're looking for. It may work. Just come see the lease. I'm like, all right, I'll go see it. Go there. I loved it, right? Because it was renovated nicely. Like, they did a really good job on the renovations there. Like, a lot of times renovations are like cheaply done, or like the paint looks a little, weird sometimes and stuff like that was dripping. These guys did a great job. This property was very nice. I said, all right, this is a nice property. I said, how much can we get for rent? Because you knew the area. Another thing about Michael is, you guys, he knew the area very well. Like, areas that I didn't know about, he really did his research. He didn't just bring you somewhere. He let you know, all right, with the top rents, with the most you can get in the area, the rates, everything. Like, he knew what he was doing. Like, he was knowledgeable. If you were underpaid, he was prepared for you and then some, right? So that was the great thing about working with Mike. So he let me know the rents, the money, how much it's gonna work. Like, listen, go home, do the numbers. I'm like, listen, I don't want to do a 2-family. Listen, just do the numbers. This could work. I'm like, listen, I did the numbers for you. Like, right now, it's already doing well out the door. And you gave me lower numbers, and it was still doing well. You were right.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, let me just go see. All right, it does work. So I think originally it was at 410K, correct? Or 420K, 410K?
You got it for 440 or
No, yeah, but it was cheaper at first. We did a bidding. We had to go through a bidding. And another thing which is good about knowing a realtor, a really experienced realtor, was he knew the purchasing. He knew the buyer
agent,
the seller's realtor. So can you go into that and how did you help me get that property?
Yeah, so I think it's very important to work with a realtor that is very well known in the space. So in my market, I'm very well connected with all the realtors in Bergen County, Essex, Passaic County, even down the Jersey Shore. I have a pretty big social media presence too in the real estate space. So the listing agent used with my company knew my history, he knows I'm a closer when I do bring a client. So he had offers that were higher than ours, but he says, because I know you can close the deal and do it flawlessly, he picked our offer. And I think there was offers that were 20K higher than yours. So
correct. So yeah, that was actually that actually helped us a lot. So when we got to bidding, because I had lost we had first bid for a property in I think it was a Garfield, I believe. That was a 660K property. But remember, I lost that bid because I wasn't being taken as serious. And that's when you got on my ass. Like, listen, man, if you're taking this serious or not, let me know, because nothing is serious. You're like, for real, it was a good deal.
That was a good deal.
Right. I missed out on a great deal. It was a great deal. Then later on was a problem with the property later on. But I'm like, all right, let's do it. Put the money down, let's do it. I'm like, let's do it. Okay. Put the money down. He said, listen, I think we had got to I had up to 425. The guy said, nah, let's do the 440, because you suggested 440 because the other guy was trying to outbid me. We did 440. They accepted. Now is when we in the game now, right? So we bought the property for $440. After that, we had to do the inspection. That's where the appraisal. Was it appraisal first or inspection?
I think inspection first.
We did the inspection. That's where we do the sewage. Can you tell me what the inspection consists of, Mike?
I remember the beam for your foundation was all rotted out, and luckily we got to negotiate a brand new beam, so that was nice.
And what is the appraisal?
What did your house appraise at? Shit. I know it overappraised, so that we were good with that.
Say it again?
I know your property overappraised, so that I think we were.
Yeah, overappraised. Yeah, it did overappraise. Correct. So we did appraise everything, you guys. So I think my interest rate was at 3.25%, like I said earlier, which is amazing. Looking to get today's market was an amazing rate, right? I didn't think it was that good at the time. I think you told me yours was 2.9. So I'm like, I want something low around that rate. But now looking at the way things are, I mean, it's a great deal, right? I put down $36,377. I think I put down first $15K in earnest money, and then they did the appraisal, and then the inspection process started. Can you break down what the earnest money is, Mike, and let everybody know how the earnest money works and the contingency policies within the a contract? Because we got a contract, and how the contract even works, the process.
So at least in New Jersey, there's 3 contingencies that protect the buyer. It's the inspection contingency, the appraisal, and your mortgage contingency. As long as you fulfill these contingencies, then you can close on the property. But let's say, during the inspection, the stuff shows up at the house, the seller's not willing to fix it, you can always back out of the deal, and then that's when you can get your earnest money back. And earnest money, basically, to sum it down, is the deposit. And with every home sale, you need to make an early deposit. Mm-hmm. And that deposit then comes back to you at closing, which gets subtracted from either your closing costs or your down payment. So that's your earnest money in a nutshell.
And what for my contract, what contingency did you put in place for my contract?
Well, you still had your appraisal contingency, you still had your mortgage and your inspection contingency. So luckily we didn't have to negotiate those out of the deal. So and you were protected by all 3, so that was good.
So yeah, you guys, everything began to move quickly on our end. I had an aggressive lender, Cheyenne, right, Michael Cheyenne. So at Round Point, which was
good.
Yeah, he was good. Yeah, which I'm gonna also try to get on a podcast at some point as well. But so for me, after we got things moving a little quickly. What was the issue with closing my property at some point? What was the issue that we ran into?
What was that? Sorry.
What was the issue we ran into when closing our property?
I think it was something with the appraisal, because we did FHA.
Correct.
Your property had these beams that would cover the windows, and as per FHA guidelines, those have to be down. So, I mean, they had those beams there to make sure that there's no intruders. So,
and also the French drain and all that stuff.
Yeah, the French drain, sump pump, and I think the beam and all that stuff. So luckily we got all that stuff fixed.
And that's why it's important to have an inspector, right? Because we didn't even see that when we first in the property, correct? We didn't know those things.
Yeah, that wasn't an issue when we first saw it, but then when we were under contract, the basement got a little flooded, and we asked them to change the French drains.
Correct.
Or no, to add French drains and change the sump pump. So.
Correct. So you guys, let's recap, right? Because we're about to end soon. I purchased my multi-unit property at $440K. I put down $36,377.39. 92 cents. I gross $4,400 a month. My rental income after all expenses is $1,811.24 in monthly rental income. That's net. After all expenses and everything. Which actually comes out to be $21,737.64. That's annually. And then the cash on cash return, which we said earlier, was 59.75. So in 2 years, I'm basically making my money back that I put down in that property, right? I'm all out in 2 years.
Pretty
give
much.
or take, for the most part, right?
Yeah.
So nothing's actually 2 years, a little less than 2 years actually.
Less than 2 years.
Less than 2 years actually, right? So all the money I put in, I'm making back within less than 2 years, right? So after that, just you know what I mean. Obviously, only probably it's crazy, right? That's would that be considered a cash cow actually?
Yeah.
Doesn't be right? Yeah, right.
That is.
So I'm making my money back, you know, with $0 invested in 2 years, right? This is the power of leveraging, you guys. This is why leveraging is to me is a better form of doing this rather than buying things outright, right? I think it just makes more sense because, like I said, in 2 years I have almost no money invested in this home, and you know what I mean, it's crazy. I'm still making money every single month along with equity and appreciation, right? How fast does a property appreciate in New Jersey, Mike? Your money is.
Depends on the location. Factors are like how close you are to New York City, how close you are to the train station, transportation, what kind of town is it, what county. So all those things play into factor with the appreciation. But overall, we're at a higher appreciation rate than somewhere in the Midwest, like Kansas City or, you know, all these. So New Jersey has good appreciation.
So all right, so compared to for New Jersey, so your home you should expect to appreciate within how long? Would it be a certain amount of years, or when can you expect to see appreciation in your property? Typically,
well, the average appreciation, I guess, before COVID was 3 to 4% annually.
Okay.
COVID was a little weird because 2020 we had like 20% increase in appreciation, and then the following year was another 20%. So it's been crazy appreciation. So, but I think it'll slow down. I think 2022 will have like a 9% or less or 5%, and then I think it's just gonna try to normalize after this year. So it's hard to predict what's gonna happen after the next 2 years.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you guys, Michael, let everybody know where they can find you at.
Find me on Instagram. So Michael_EXP Realty. That's my Instagram. Or you can send me an email at wilches, it's my last name, WILCHES, realestate@gmail.com. You can send me an email if you have any inquiries, if you're looking to buy a property or you just have questions about investing, give me a call. I'm going to be a realtor in New Jersey and New York. So
yeah, guys, he's well connected. He can definitely help you out. He is the guy, man. I'm telling you, like, he knows what he's doing. He's actually educating us, and he actually is an investor in the same market he's helping you find properties, right? So that to me is one of the major things. That to me is very important when buying a property. Somebody who's also investing along with me. They know what you're looking for because he's also looking for the same things, right? And he's also in the search at the same time, right? I remember when I was looking for my properties, he was saying things like, "Listen, I'm looking to buy as well. I might buy it myself," like stuff like that. Like he's also in the search, so he understands what you're going through, right? Whereas somebody who's not buying properties at all, they don't really understand. They don't understand what you're looking for. They don't understand how you need to make a certain amount of money to capitalize and to make it make sense for you. They just looking to get that sale. You let me know up front. I'm not concerned with a sale. I'm concerned with making sure, listen, that you're happy with the purchase. That to me is more important than the sale. And that to me was like, man, that's really bad. You see what I'm saying? So I was able to say, all right, I can trust this guy. You know what I mean? So just having somebody who knows what they're doing, who's also knowledgeable about the area, who also invests in the area, so cares to satisfy his customers to me and his clients to me is very big. So you guys definitely give him a shout out. And definitely you guys reach out to him. This is the Fire Podcast, you guys. Please check us out later. Check us out when you have a chance. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll be back later on, you guys, with ladies. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Awesome.